Well, Razorback fans, what was yesterday and just the madness that it was? I'm exhausted. Let's just talk about this crazy stuff with Braylen Russell on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon at Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start today and the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh, hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. This is chaos, man. This is absolute chaos. And what's crazy is by the time I record this, there'll probably be even something crazier that happens or something else that pops off. But that's the transfer portal season right now. But for those of you who may not have been aware or may have been, not on social media or anything like that, yesterday, Razorback running back Braylen Russell had himself a day. He was in the news a lot for the Razorbacks, and there's just, again, there's so much to get to. We'll talk basketball. We'll get to all of that, but I'll try to walk everyone through it because there's a timeline to this. There's a timeline to it. So I'll try my best to walk everybody through how it went and give my thoughts on it and everything. I'll start by saying I felt that Braylen Russell was one of those players for the Razorback football team that was going to end up in the transfer portal. It's not I had any sources about it or anything. I just felt like, and I know a lot of you did, looking at the writing on the wall, it seemed to make sense. It seemed to make sense that he would be entering into the portal. You don't want him to. He's a good player, but that made sense. Well, at about 10:30 yesterday morning, Trey Biddy of Hog Sports, very reputable and really good at what he does when it comes to reporting, said in a tweet, "I am told that freshman running back Braylen Russell will enter into the transfer portal." Per source. Okay. Normally it's a lot of the On3 guys or the 24/7 Sports National guys that are on top of this, but Trey went ahead and put it out there, and he wouldn't have put it out there unless he felt like it was confirmed. So there it was. It's like, okay, well, that sucks. Another player. We got to talk about another player entering into the transfer portal. Well, time went on. And then there was Mason Choate of hogbeat.com, who I also respect. And he said in a tweet that Braylen Russell was not entering into the transfer portal. He had not put his name in. He was not going to be putting his name in. So for those of you who may not know, in local media here in Arkansas, a lot of us get the same information from the same people in a lot of cases. Sometimes you may get ahead, but it takes a lot to do some reporting and to get all the sources together because it is a small state and a lot of people are scared of losing access or losing their source or whatever it is. So to have two people on either side of the coin having two completely different reports is a little fascinating because it doesn't happen very often. Now, I didn't know who was right. I'm sure, and I'm sure both of them had their own sources and their own belief as to why this player or whoever was going to be entering into the portal or not entering into the portal. But it's fascinating to say, like, somebody's got to be right here. Somebody's got to be understanding of it. Well, time went on. And about it, we'll say middle of the day, early afternoon, Hayes Fawcett of On3 tweeted out that Arkansas true freshman Braylen Russell plans to enter into the transfer portal. He told that to On3. Braylen Russell said that. He confirmed it with them, that he's going into the portal. So I was like, oh, well, I guess Trey was the one that was right on that reporting. And there it is. But then you had this particular thing posted and screenshotted by Mason Choate of Hogbeat. He DM'd, direct messaged, Braylen Russell himself and said, "Hey, Braylen, can you confirm that you plan on entering into the transfer portal?" Braylen responds with, "No, I'm not." Then Mason says, so I'm good to report that you do not plan to enter into the transfer portal. And then Braylen says, yes, you can. So that's where the report happened from Mason and Hogbeat. He was saying that, I mean, it's hard to get a better source than Braylen Russell himself, but that's where his reporting came from. And when that happened, a lot of people went after Mason unfairly, but that's what happens in the business of media. So him posting the screenshot as proof of it, I don't take issue with him, and I don't blame him for doing it. Because, some of us care about reputations and credibility. And if it's something as important as that, I probably would have done the same thing, because it's not, you're not, because some people may think, oh, you're just trying to get out there, you're trying to make up stuff, you're trying to lie, you're trying to gaslight, whatever. It's like, no, I got this from something, and this was about as big of a source as it could be as Braylen. So then that happens, and everyone's like, oh, geez. And people start fighting about whether or not Mason was right, or if Braylen was in the right, or media's not owed anything. You got former players getting involved, you got other media getting involved. It's just a clown shoe organization to the fullest. All right, just madness. And as if that couldn't be enough by itself, a wild and crazy turn of events. What do we get? What happens later in the afternoon? Oh, very casually, Braylen Russell withdraws his name from the transfer portal and returns to Arkansas. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I can't. I can't deal with this. The portal is insanity to the highest order. And it is a thing that is not going anywhere anytime soon. Hopefully they try to find some different ways to regulate it and to help it and to improve it and everything. But man, that was just a disaster. It was a disaster. And hopefully, again, at the time of the recording of this podcast, there hasn't been anything said publicly from anybody. But hope this has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. I am not someone, very frank, I am not someone who is going to be holding pumping my fist to the media, be like, oh, you can't do this to the media. We are astute members of it, and this will not stand. Like that's not what's happening. However, I do believe that this is a thing that Braylen Russell should not have done. He made a mistake. He's an 18-year-old kid. An 18-year-old kid where money's a lot to him and he wants to help support his family. All of that, totally understand it, have no problem with it. But he didn't handle it right. He didn't. And you can't convince me otherwise. Braylen Russell doesn't owe me anything. All right? Doesn't owe me anything. And honestly, I don't think he owes you anything. And I don't think he owes most members of the media anything. However, he can do what he wants. He's a grown man. I would hope that he would at least reach out to Mason and apologize and make it right. Like, that's all. If he wants to do it publicly, that's fine too. But you can't just make a mistake like this and do something like this where it comes out in such a public manner and not say anything about it and not address it. And it's not even something to where I'm going to hold this grudge, or anybody should hold a grudge against Braylen Russell. Absolutely not. Should not happen. And I hope no one does. If he at least tries to reach out and make it right. There shouldn't be any of that. But this idea that the players, something like what happened in this situation, should just go away and nobody should even worry about it because Braylen Russell doesn't owe anybody anything. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I believe in, as all of us have when we were younger, we made mistakes and we were held accountable for them and we learned from them. I mean, shoot, it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. I know nobody wants to make mistakes. No one tries to make mistakes. And in most cases, people are going to back away and try not to. People are going to cancel you at least, or at least try to cancel you for any mistakes that you do make. So I understand it, but just everyone's gonna be better at the end of the day if it's just made right and you move on from it. I just could not imagine a more Arkansas thing than what happened yesterday, and everything. But I will say this too: I'm happy Braylen Russell is back. I think he's a good running back. He's a really good running back that could help Arkansas, and I'd rather have him on the roster than not on the roster. Especially being a young player, they got a lot of experience, and he's a local kid and everything. So I'm glad he's back. I really am. And again, if they talk it out, or if whatever's done is done correctly and made right, and Mason's good and everybody's good, then everybody should be good, and let's move on. Let's just move on from it. But those are the types of things that already with a strange situation of him entering in the portal or not entering into the portal, for it to come out where he does enter into the portal, even though he said he wasn't going to then withdraw his name from the portal, adds strange on strange on strange. More and more and more just gets stranger and stranger with all this stuff. So hopefully I did a decent enough job, or at least I made that make sense and understanding. It's been a long day, and it's only going to get worse, and it's only going to get crazier. It's just funny. It's just so funny to me. Anyways, we'll talk about what's going to be happening next, or at least what's the next move. Trying to predict it, at least. I don't know if we will, but we'll get to that and more on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, all you Razorback fans, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet up to $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live on bets on all in the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, trying to predict what's happening next, because I get asked about this. What's happening? What's going to be the portal thing? Well, Arkansas is getting visits from people, and I'll try to keep you updated as much as possible on who it's going to be and if there'll be anybody exciting about it. We'll see if there's any other subtractions from the transfer portal. It's been a wild time just seeing the national guys have their notifications turned on my phone for Twitter, and it's just nonstop. More. Things that just keep popping off. And it's just not good. I don't like it for college football. I really don't. This doesn't help anybody. You know what I'm saying? If there was a way you could change it and make the rules a little bit differently to where it maybe meets you halfway in the middle of players making sure they get taken care of and find their situation that they need to be in, while also helping out the teams that are getting ready for bowl games. And then, maybe move signing day. That might be the biggest thing, I think, or at least one thing that would really help it. Move signing day back to February 1st, or the first Wednesday in February. Do that. Because the early signing period, I get it, but that's just gotten out of control. And it's just another layer of adding into the craziness, into the stress of everything. So I think if you move that back, that would be really helpful. And then if you're able to just find some sort of deal, or I'd almost make it to where if you go into the portal, this could be like an NCAA thing. If you go into the portal, you can't, I don't know, I'm not saying you can't get out of it, but it's got to have some ramifications when you make that decision if you change your mind. Maybe the teams that they leave from won't like that, but there's got to be something to it. To where if you do go into the portal, it has to be a permanent thing. And it has to be maybe something, because people are like, oh, we'll just move it up to, after the bowl games. Yeah, in theory that works, but at the same time, these are kids that have to enroll in school. And the spring semester is going to be coming up soon, and they got to get their stuff in order. So I just don't think that's going to happen. But it's got to be something that's succinct. It's got to be something that's quick. It's got to be something to where, you're trying to make sure everybody's doing the right thing and being in the right position. But this just isn't stable. This isn't healthy, and this isn't the way to do it. And I like transfers. I think people should be allowed to go where you want to go. But if they told me that when you transfer, you got to sit out another year if you stay in conference or whatever. I wouldn't be against that either. Maybe that'd be a good thing to do, is you have to go outside the conference if you want to transfer and play immediately. But if you're in the conference, you have to sit out a year. Maybe something like that would help. But right now, it's just chaos, and it's hard to keep up with, and I don't know how anybody else does. But we'll see. Another thing that kind of grinds my gears a little bit is that they came out with the coaches all-SEC team for football. I wasn't expecting many Razorbacks to be on it. However, Andrew Armstrong, who I'm a huge fan of, dude is awesome, best wide receiver in the SEC. He was named to all-SEC second team. Second team. Andrew Armstrong led the SEC in receptions and led the SEC in receiving yards. That's an automatic. You be first team all SEC. That should be an automatic. Now, I know, as we all do, that Arkansas only got him one touchdown catch. It was just still absurd. Should never happen. But that's not him. That's not on him. It's not like he's dropped passes in the end zone. The dude put up his money and put up his numbers. I love this stat from old DB501 boy on Twitter. Idiot. But he had a good stat where he says, this is the second time since 1966 when a wide receiver was first listed on the ballot that a player that led the SEC in receptions and receiving yards was not a unanimous all-SEC first-team member. How ridiculous is that? Second time since 1966. And Andrew Armstrong was leading in all of it and didn't get first team. And he also played one less game, mind you. One less game. He only played 11 games because he didn't play against UAPB. Just so much disrespect. The amount of disrespect is very unfortunate and very annoying. But that's nothing new. That's nothing new at all. So either way, crazy times, folks. Crazy times. We're going to try to keep you updated on all of it. I promise you. I'm going to try to keep you updated on all of it. We'll get into some Razorback basketball and talk about their game against Michigan from last night. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com, plus score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience that consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and so much more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. And you can get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Folks, what a win last night for the Razorback basketball team, getting the big victory over the Michigan Wolverines. Holy crap. I mean, I don't even know where to begin in this madness of a game. 89-87, the Razorbacks get the dub, and it was all over the place, man. Arkansas got down early. They were down big time, down as many as 16 points in the first half. Arkansas stormed back and took the lead by 18 points in the second half. And then Michigan stormed back and ended up getting within 1 point, was the closest they got. But Arkansas held on to the win. A win is a win is a win. And man, did everybody need this. Razorback fans needed this. Everyone's parents needed this. The state of Arkansas needed this. I mean, geez Louise. What a game. What an absolute game. Had a great performance. Boogie Fland leads the way. 20 points for him in this one. Also was able to get 7 assists with only 2 turnovers. Got a rebound, but 6 of 18 from the field. So really good stuff from him. You got to see DJ Wagner. He went off. He was having a huge stretch there in the second half where he was just dominating. 16 points for him on 5 assists, 7 of 12 from the field. And it was great to see Trevin Brazil. You know, he missed some free throws down the stretch, which he has to not do again. You never want to see that happen again. got to make something happen besides that. But 15 points for him. He had a huge block shot there to get more free throws to add to the other end of the court. And you go 6 of 8 from the field, had a great dunk, had 6 rebounds and 3 steals in this game too. So really good performance at him. Jonas Adu, you can tell he's getting closer. He's getting closer and closer each and every time. But 11 points, 7 rebounds for Jonas Adu in just a matter of limited minutes there. But Adu Thierra was dealing with a cold, or at least some flu-like symptoms, if you want to call it that. But he still was able to put in 13 points and 4 rebounds. And again, it's not always pretty. You don't want to see Arkansas give up those big leads. You don't want to see them shoot 63% from the free throw line. You don't want to see any of that, and especially having 14 turnovers. But gritty win against a really good Michigan team, and you're hoping that this can finally build something, finally give you something that Razorback fans, I know you've been wanting, is just to have some sort of win to hang your hat on. Arkansas has been looking for that one quality win, and they got it against Michigan. So Michigan's a good team, but man, you got to be kicking yourselves if you're them, knowing that they say a game of runs. This was a game of pendulum swings. I mean, shoosh. Never seen anything like it where one team led by 16 points, and the other team led by 18 points, and then the final score is a 2-point margin. That's just, it's a heart attack waiting to happen with a lot of emotions to go along into it as well. But I'm really hoping that they get something going. Big Z did not play well at all. He was a liability out there. Nelly Davis is still just not what he needs to be, man. 2 of 8 from the field. Did have a big defensive stop there at the end of the game, but only 6 points, 4 rebounds for him. So, got to see more from him. Got to see something else. But again, momentum, building, getting better. That's what you want to do. That's what you're having to do. And Arkansas certainly went out there and took care of business in this one. And what a great game it was. Love it for Arkansas. Love to beat the Michigan Wolverines, as Arkansas has had some success against them, and especially to do it in Madison Square Garden. It doesn't get much bigger than that. So congratulations, Razorback fans. You finally got you a win in something. You finally got you something here. And you got to be excited about that for sure. But it's going to be a lot of fun to continue to talk about this team. They got more games to come up before they get into really rigorous play in the SEC, because the SEC is a really good conference. We'll see what transpires. We'll see how it all goes. But got to feel great about the Razorbacks right now, and you got to fly high about it. But we'll talk about that, I'm sure, more tomorrow. But appreciate everybody listening and watching in to the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.